Hello, can you guys hear me? Welcome, everyone. This is my second attempt at a Facebook Live. I still don't feel like I'm an expert though, so we'll keep practicing. Um, but today we're here to talk about food security. You may have heard that food insecurity is a rising concern in a lot of countries since the start of the pandemic. And I hope you have a few minutes to tune in and get some updates on the food security situation specifically in Guatemala. I'm really excited to have Eunice Pax here with us. I met Eunice when I visited Guatemala last January, just before we locked down. And so I'm glad I got the chance to meet her in person and get to know her a little bit. She is the Livelihood Specialist for FH Guatemala. She manages the whole livelihood strategy for the FH team in Guatemala. And we're really excited to have her here. Welcome, Eunice. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hi everyone. Well, I have a bachelor degree in agriculture and a master degree in environmental management. And after I graduated, I started to work with FH, and it has been around 4 years since then. So during this time, I am having this great opportunity to work with passionate people, very compatible with FH's call to end poverty.
Yeah, for sure. That's what we spend a lot of time talking about. So tell us a little bit more about your specific role at FH Guatemala.
Of course, as a livelihood specialist, I contribute to design and implement livelihood projects in food security, in agriculture, and economical rural development. Also, I give technical support to the regional office through systematic training, develop of training materials, follow visits to ensure the correct implementation of the livelihood strategies.
Okay, yeah, great. That's exciting. And so when you say livelihoods, maybe I don't know if that's a term everybody's familiar with. I know you and I spend a lot of time using that word, but explain to us what that means.
Of course, in simple words, the livelihoods are the activities or strategies that people do for living, using their own capacities, assets available in their context or environment. For example, in Guatemala, in the rural areas, the livelihood the half of the population is doing is agriculture.
Okay, so basically the things that they do to make some money to keep their family going and so on. That's simple enough. Now we want to start out by talking a little bit about COVID. Obviously, this is affecting everybody around the
Yeah.
globe. It's an important topic. Tell us, how has the pandemic impacted Guatemala specifically?
Well, since March 13, 2020, the Guatemala government has established some restrictions, such as a ban of public events and meetings, suspension of the face-to-face classes, border closure, curfews, quarantine periods, suspension of the public transportation, among others. Now there is a greater openness to carry out non-essential economical activities, and the borders are open, but we continue with some restriction like the mandatory use of masks and the limitation of the concentration of people in public spaces. And
Mm.
on the other hand, this restriction has caused a reduction in the family incomes and unemployment. In addition, the restriction of the public transportation affect the commercialization of some agriculture products and the mobilization to the labor places. So this directly affect the economical access of food within the rural families.
Okay, yeah, so that's very similar to even what families face here in Canada with the economic situation being stressful because of the COVID restrictions. But you specifically mentioned access to food. That may not be a problem for many Canadians, but it is a problem in Guatemala. Talk to us a little bit about food security. Maybe you can give us a definition of food security for people who don't usually use that term.
Of course, for me, food security is in a state where all the people have access to food all the time, without exclusion in the quantity and quality that they need for a good health state, and without affecting the access for the future generation of food. And it's important to know that the access to food is an universal human right, and it's very
Right.
important for the country's development in terms of health, education, and productivity too.
Yeah, for sure. Tell us what for a family that would be food insecure, that don't have the that food security state that you talked about for good health, for education. What does that look like? What does daily life look like for a family like that?
Well, a family with food insecurity lives with worries about food, and they are
Mm,
constantly thinking about what they can do to afford or produce more food. So the level of stress is high and the
mm.
productivity is low because they are not consuming a lot of food. So that produces laziness, and they have the children sometimes have a bad performance in school. So the families start to use some negative copy strategies like sell their assets, use their savings, or ask for loans. They work for little money, and sometimes children need to start to work. That is a reality in the rural areas. And other strategies that they use is reduce the number of meals or the amount of the meal that
Okay.
they are eating. And some as well, sometimes the distribution of the food is not equal for everyone, and the women are the first to reduce the food intake in these cases.
Mm.
And when the household is in food insecurity, the diet is based only in beans, maize, and some native herbs, so it's not a good quality for them.
So they're not getting essentially the micronutrients that they need every day because they're
Yeah,
reducing. So it's interesting. You use the word laziness, but I think it's like you also said, it's a kind of a coping strategy. These are not families that it's not that they don't want to work hard. It's that it's challenging for them, and they feel maybe hopeless that they don't have any other option.
yeah,
Does that make sense? So
yeah.
so then yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, don't worry. Yeah, the level of stress is really high. So for them, they are in this environment. They are with a lot of worries about
Mm.
what can do for eat more, for afford more food. So that doesn't help to the well-being of them.
Yeah, that's true. That level of stress really makes a difference. I mean, we see that here. I know as a mom, I worry about what my kids are eating every day. So maybe let's talk a little bit about what you and FH Guatemala are doing to help these families. I know that that's what you spend your day doing. You every day, all day, you're thinking about how you can help these families with this problem. Tell us a little bit about the projects that you're implementing to address food insecurity, and let's start with the project that focuses on savings groups.
Yeah, the project Weaving Dreams is an income generation project. This project seeks to improve the economic security of the most vulnerable household through the formation of self-management groups, which are a type of saving groups formed by women. And they are able to save money, have access to loans, receive training in business skills, and increase their economical, social, and political capital.
Oh, that's so interesting. So it's not just an economic advancement, you're also trying to increase their social and political influence, like you talked about, or capital. Why is that important?
Yeah, it's a fact that there is disparity between women and men in Guatemala, especially in the rural areas. Women don't have the same opportunity to raise their voice or take decision at the household or community level as men. So we want to help to reduce this gap, giving women a safe space where they can talk openly about their own difficulties, their feelings, and find support in her group. For the other hand, the self-management group, women start to participate in the decision-making process, and later this encouraged her to start to take decision in their household, in their community, and we encourage them to participate in the political life too, in their community, using lobbying and advocacy strategies.
Okay, I mean, I know that for me personally, I feel better when I have the support of other people. So it's exciting to see, especially women coming together, supporting each other to improve their own lives. Now, back to where your very first sentence, you mentioned the name of the project. It's called Weaving Dreams. I love that name. Explain to us why we call it Weaving Dreams.
We call weaving dreams because in the rural context, the main livelihood for women is weaving. This is a skill that they have learned since they were little girls. And during the implementation of the project, we hope that women are not afraid of dreaming, and those dreams can come through the implementation of the self-management groups. For example, one of our beneficiaries dream that her children can continue to study in high school. So she took a loan in the self-management group. She decided to start a business, a daily consumer store, which now is generating income to support her children's education. And that is how she's working to fulfill his dream.
That's so amazing. I love hearing about that. And I know from personal experience when I was there in Guatemala and we visited one of those savings groups, it's so powerful. You can see on their faces how excited they are to be a part of this project. We talk a lot about empowering women, and you've given some good information about how life is different for men and women. But can you talk a little bit more about why empowering women is so important in our projects?
Yeah, empowering women, it's important because through this process, they are more aware about their own capacities, their value and potential, and they become the main actors of her development, and they start to manage these capacities to achieve their goals and make changes in support of the social transformation of their communities.
It's so exciting to see, and that's really what we're about here at FH is giving people the tools to address their own problems. We're not just handing them stuff, we're helping them develop those skills for the future. So I love hearing about that. Okay, let's talk about the second project, which is called Nutrition for My Family. The Savings Group project as well, but the Nutrition for My Family project is also a project that you've been doing for quite a while, but you've implemented some new strategies as part of the recovery from the COVID lockdowns. Tell us a little bit about the project and some of the new strategies that you're excited about.
Of course, Nutrition for My Family, it's a food security project that seeks to increase the access, availability, and consumption of basic food in vulnerable households with a sensitive nutrition perspective. To achieve these results, the project includes the implementation of family gardens, but new strategies like raising backyard animals, direct-to-consumers market linkages, provision of certified seeds for subsistence farmers, and as I mentioned, one of those new strategies is raising backyard animals using rabbits. So this is a affordable and nutritious protein source for the families.
Protein. I mean, okay, I know that I spend a lot of time. I have one child in particular who loves eating her carbs and has to be encouraged to eat proteins as well. So I know as a mom, I spend time thinking about making sure my kids get enough protein. It sounds like that's a problem for mothers in Guatemala, making sure that their kids, that their families have enough protein. What are some of the barriers? Why is that they struggle with that?
Well, the intake of protein in the poor household is very low. They
Mm,
consume meat once a week based on FH data. The families are really struggling with purchasing meat because they don't have enough money to buy it, and instead they prefer to buy food that is cheaper and gives them the feeling of fullness like some cereals. Also, a copy strategy is to sell their backyard animals to
okay.
generate incomes to buy maize, beans, oil, sugar, and coffee. Those are the most purchased products within the poor families.
Okay. And why rabbits? Why is that the choice of protein here?
Well, we choose rabbits because they multiply very easily in a short period of time compared
Mm,
with other animals. And the meat of the rabbits is very healthy because
okay.
it's low in the level of fat and it has a high level of protein too. So producing this type of meat also is cheaper than other animal production systems.
Interesting. Yeah, we don't eat a lot of rabbit meat here in Canada. Although I actually grew up in Kenya, and my brother used to raise rabbits for meat. It was one of his hobbies, I guess you could say. So I am a little familiar with it. Are Guatemalan families, is that normal there in Guatemala to eat rabbit meat or to raise rabbits?
Well, in Guatemala, it's not very common to raise rabbits for their meat too. So we are starting with a small group per community with families that are very excited and interested in raising rabbits. And we are working with the health and nutrition sector to design some recipes to increase the acceptability to that meat.
Okay, great. I love how you guys are thinking creatively to solve this issue of not enough protein for families. Now, you also mentioned another strategy as part of this project, which you called direct to consumer markets, or something like that. Explain to us what that means.
Well, this strategy or activity is to link producers with the consumers in a direct form. So, in that kind of linkage, there is a geographic proximity. Is not there is not intermediation, and we encourage the organization of local producers. Also, the beneficiaries find a place where they can sell the surpluses, and the consumers can obtain affordable and nutritious food too.
Okay, cool. So basically, they're selling to their neighbors, right?
Yeah, so it allows to the seller to save some money for the transportation because they are
Okay.
selling in the local market and they don't need to sell to the middlemen or other persons. So the majority of the benefits are for them. And on the other hand, the consumers have food that is close to them, so they don't need to go long distance to buy food, and the food available is in a good diversity with a good price that they can afford. So in other words, we are stimulating the local economy.
Oh, great. I mean, that's something we talk a lot about here is buying our vegetables locally. It's something that I know I try to do. So, another strategy that you mentioned or another part of this project was providing these families with certified seeds. What does that mean and why are the certified seeds better?
The certified seeds are a type of varieties that are improved, so they have a high percentage of purity, and the crops have a good yield potential in the field.
Okay.
They are vigorous and respond well to the recommended weather and soil condition and the fertilization too. In addition, the harvest is more uniform with this type of seeds.
Okay, yeah, that's good. The importance of making sure that what they are planting is a high quality. Can you tell me a story about a family that's been positively impacted by this project, Nutrition for My Family?
Yeah, there is a lot of beautiful stories about how uh, they are finding a good option to provide nutrition for their family. So let me introduce you to Anita Kova from the community of Akul. When her child was 1 year old, she went to the health post, and the health staff suggests her to start to complement her diet with more fruits and vegetables. So Anita was very worried and confused about that. So she went with the agriculture promoter from FH, who invited her to join to the agriculture group. Months later, she implemented a family garden with carrots, spinach, carrot, radishes, beets, broccoli, and cauliflower. So she used all these vegetables to feed her children, and she also learned different ways to prepare nutritious meal using hygienic practices. So Anita is very grateful because now she can offer a more diversified diet to her family, and she has noticed some changes in her children's, like they are more active, more smart, more happy.
That's I love that story, and that picture's adorable, and with their vegetables right there in their backyard. It's great to see that. I love it. So we've talked a lot about farming, and you have talked some about nutrition as well, but talk to me a little bit more about the nutrition aspect of this project.
Yeah, the project Nutrition for My family is not only focuses on improve the access of food. We also integrate this nutrition sensitive approach to reduce malnutrition in all its forms. So through these nutrition sensitive lines, we strengthen hygiene practices during the food preparation, increase the awareness with being caregivers of the importance of a good health and nutrition for their children's development, and we seek to increase the food consumption in terms of diversified diet, and also increase the availability of both affordable and nutritious food in the local markets and in the household.
That's great. And I think that the cooking classes are really exciting too. I love that you guys develop recipes. Do you have your own recipe book that you developed there?
Yeah, we have, and it's very wonderful to see the mothers doing these recipes and they feeding their kids with these recipes.
Yeah, that's great. I love that so much. Okay, a third project we wanted to briefly talk about is recovering from the two hurricanes that swept through Central America last November. The project is not only about nutrition, but those two hurricanes really, Hurricane Eta and Hurricane Iota, really strongly affected the situation there. Tell us a little bit about the damage caused by those hurricanes and the results of those hurricanes.
Yeah, based on 2 rounds of household surveys that we made in December 2020 and February 2021, we found that 93% of the communities in 2 of the 3 regions where FH has intervention were affected by these hurricanes. And some of those impacts are the loss of lives, loss in crops like maize and beans, and livestock, mainly poultry, and as well damage of destruction of homes, kitchen gardens, classrooms, sanitation and irrigation systems, roads, bridges, as you can see in the picture. And with those impacts and the significant losses of the crops, animal, plus the decreased demand of the labor along the COVID-19 restriction, poor and vulnerable households in rural areas are now facing a crisis level of food insecurity.
Yeah, it's like a double whammy, as we'd say. I guess that's a very North American expression. But to start with, food insecurity was a problem in Guatemala. Then came the COVID-19 restrictions. Then the hurricanes. It's definitely a significant impact and a setback. So, what is FH Guatemala doing to help these families recover from these storms?
Well, we currently have a post-storm recovery project underway. So in this project, we work on three lines of action. The first is the rehabilitation of the livestock assets through the provision of chickens, livestock infrastructure, and vaccination campaigns for poultry. And the second line is the rehabilitation of and strengthening of the small-scale agriculture production system through the provision of seeds, vermicomposters, and storage facilities. And the third one is the strengthening of the family gardens that we were implemented. And we are now doing some training in disease management and provision of some inputs for the elaboration of organic fungicides.
Okay, good. So it's very similar to what you've already been doing, but you're kind of deepening or increasing the activities to have a greater impact, it sounds like.
Yeah, and working for the rehabilitation of the livelihoods of these families.
Right, right. And I guess especially those families that were most strongly affected.
Yeah.
So you mentioned organic in there, and I think you may have mentioned it before. I know that that's an important part of the Nutrition for My Family project. Does all of your agricultural training and programming, is it all organic?
Yeah, we work with organic agriculture because we can obtain safe and nutritious food through that. And it's a sustainable way to produce food because it's friendly with the environment and good for our health, and it's an economical way to produce food compared with the traditional agriculture practice that depend on external inputs like chemical fertilizers, pesticides, and others.
Yeah, that's an important point. So instead of having to go to the market to buy a pesticide, I think they can take like a hot pepper and create their own pesticide. Is that right for the plants?
Yeah, you can use hot peppers and onions too, and
Okay.
make a good pesticide.
Okay, that's cool. I love that. Now, we want to quickly announce a new project that FH Canada has just approved for FH Guatemala to start implementing, which is a coffee project. We're all really excited about that. Many of us here in Canada being coffee drinkers. Give us a brief overview about this project.
Yeah, we are excited too about this upcoming project. The main goal of this project is to strengthen the livelihood of medium and small coffee producers. And the result that we expect to achieve is to improve the technical capacities in good agriculture and manufacturing practices to improve the quality and quantity of the coffee that is produced, and also we strengthen the linkage between coffee growers and coffee association or cooperatives to remove the middleman in this process. And also we want to improve the access to inputs like infrastructure for the coffee transformation and irrigation system. And now we are currently carrying out some need assessment to identify
Okay.
what are the limitations and critical points during the coffee production, transformation, and commercialization. And we want know what are the strategies using by coffee growers to face the ongoing emergency.
Yeah, that's great. And it's you mentioned the associations or cooperatives helping families or coffee growers kind of come together in a group to work together to sell their coffee. Is that what it's about?
Yeah, it's about to the organization of these local producers so they can sell a big amount in a good price to the to a bigger seller, so
A
they
big
can have
market, a
a
bigger
good price,
market.
a bigger
Yeah.
market, so they can have a good price for that.
Yeah, that's great. I think that I believe it's a 4-year project, and this year we start very small. We build it up, but it's a longer term project so that there's time to see some results. Am I right? 4 years?
Yeah, it's right.
Okay, good. Well, it's really exciting to hear about that. I hope maybe someday soon I can see that Guatemalan coffee from our communities here in Canada for sale. That would be exciting. We may have time for questions if there are any questions. I'm not sure if there are or not. Looks like I'm not seeing any questions. Sorry, I don't have access to the feed, so there might be. Okay, here's a question that somebody has put up here. But what kinds of vegetables are they growing in their gardens? You may have mentioned it earlier when you were telling the story, but talk to me about the types of vegetables. I know that people here love to hear about what families are growing in Guatemala.
Yeah, we are promoting the carrots, onions too, broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, chard, and uh, all these vegetables that can offer a good nutrients for the families.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Swiss chard. That's one I know I buy here in the market here. It's great to hear that these are the same kinds of vegetables that we're growing here. You know, a lot of families here in Canada too are thinking more about how they can grow vegetables in their own gardens, and so it's really, I guess I would say, really relatable for us here to think about those families. They're trying to improve the nutrition for their children, just like we are here, and being able to grow them yourself in your own backyard is really, really exciting and fun too. I have a quick question on that. Do you also try to involve the children, like make our children part of the training? Like, I'm assuming you're teaching the parents how to grow the vegetables. Do the children also learn in this process?
Yeah, of course, when the facilitators goes to the house to do a follow visit, sometimes the children go and listening about what they are talking, and they are really involved in that. They start to planting. They like planting. They like to take care of the vegetable, especially the harvest is the best part for them.
Oh yeah, that's I can imagine they would get excited about that. Do they participate in the cooking lessons too? I don't
Well,
know.
no, I don't think so because the
Yeah.
mothers are the ones that participate in the training, and they are in the most households they are in charge of the preparation of the food.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. That makes total sense. And I'm sure that over time, the parents will, or the mothers will teach their children as well to cook some of the new recipes that they've learned from FH Guatemala. Um, when you train them, I think a lot of these families don't even speak Spanish. They only speak their local language. Is that correct? What language does the facilitator train them using?
Well, in one of the regions there is two local language. One is Ishil, in the
Okay,
second
Ishio.
one is Quiche. And the other regions, there is other local language. For example, in Alta Verapaz is Quechua and
Okay.
Pocomchi. In Guatemala is a total of 22 local language that has a Mayan origin.
Oh, a Mayan.
Yeah,
Maya?
yeah,
Okay.
Maya.
Yeah. Cool. Okay, here's another question that's coming in. What is the growing season? I know that each country's a little bit different. When is the harvest season or the growing season for the vegetables that you're teaching families to grow? And also, I guess another part of that is, do they use a greenhouse? So it's two questions.
Okay, the growing season start in March, and they
Okay.
start planting, and they start to harvest like May and June. It depends about what type of crops they are planting, and they don't build in greenhouses. They work with an open spaces, so they don't use this type of technology.
Mm. Yeah, that's probably requires some infrastructure to build those greenhouses. Now, I do think though that through the Savings Group project, you are helping women to have a joint greenhouse that they have together.
Yeah, that is a special project about to grow up the seeds that they go like a little plants that they later sell, and in the local markets they sell, and the producers took these seedless to plant into their own lands. So that's a special business that are performing by the saving groups.
Yeah, that's right. Those little seedlings. You and I had a lot of emails back and forth because in Spanish, I think you call it pilones. Yeah, pilon.
A pylon.
Oh, and in English, a pylon is like a plastic traffic cone that you put on the road to make the traffic go to one side. So I was very confused, and we went back and forth. But it. I guess a more accurate translation might
Yeah.
be like a pillow, or it has to do with how you've grown it, um, and the root system, how it's grown in that greenhouse, and then you sell it, and it's a better variety. So it's exciting. I like hearing about that project too. I have one last question, not related to agriculture, but somebody is wondering about schools. I know that schools in Guatemala were closed for almost a year, but I think that they've just opened back up. Is that correct?
Yeah, they are working in two different times. They some days they go to the school, and other days they spend time studying in their houses.
Okay, yeah. So some children are still learning at home. Okay, I know I said that was the last question, but there is one more question about the rabbits. So what kind of recipes are you guys developing? What that families can eat from the rabbit meat?
That's a good question because now we are doing some research about what are the more acceptable way to prepare this meat, because we want to use some traditional preparation that they made and incorporate this type of meat. So the nutrition of the FH is working hard to design this recipe, but we can share with you, with everyone later when we have these recipes.
Yeah, no, that's great. And I love that you're trying to you're not just making a recipe that might be meaningless to them. You're trying to incorporate with their existing recipes so that it's something that they're a little bit familiar with. And definitely please share that recipe with us. I don't know if you know, but a lot of times we share a lot of recipes with our partners here in Canada that the communities are using overseas. So when you do have those recipes, we would love to see them. So that will definitely be my last question. And I think that's about all the time that we have. It's been really amazing to have you with us, Eunice. I love hearing your passion. I know that you're excited
Oh.
about what you're doing. You're developing new strategies. It's exciting to hear about. It's fascinating to kind of get those insights into daily life for Guatemalan families, especially for me as a mom. I love hearing
Mhm.
about what that's like for moms in Guatemala as well, trying to take care of their families.
Yeah, and thank you to everyone who has joined us. And I hope you were able to learn something about Guatemala and the communities that we are working in.
Oh, I think absolutely we did. Even I learned some things, and so you've been a big help with that. We have a lot of opportunities available here at FH Guatemala to partner with Guatemala and the communities there. Child sponsorship is one of those ways. When you sponsor a child, you help FH walk with the entire community that that child is a part of to provide food, food security, not just handouts of food, but food security, like Eunice has been talking about, a better education, clean water, healthcare, opportunities to have an income and to improve your income. And actually, there are lots of other projects that we didn't even get to talk about that are exciting projects that the Guatemala team is taking on right now. So when you sponsor a child, it helps to support all of those projects in Guatemala. And if you're interested in doing that, you can go to our website and send us an email or a message, but all the information is on the website. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for taking time out of your evening. Thank you, Eunice, for taking time out of your evening in Guatemala. We're so glad to have you even from so far away. And we look forward to seeing you all at our next Facebook Live event or live event, wherever we may host that. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye.